Good afternoon, everybody. I am the Reverend Kaloma A. Smith. I am the pastor of the University AME Zion Church. We are located in Palo Alto, California, and I am just so grateful to the leadership of the Christian Education Department, our General Secretary, Reverend Patrick Barrett, and the rest of the team for allowing me this opportunity to talk to you about designing digital discipleship ministry for churches. This seems to be a hot topic for a lot of people in our current area, but I would just want to spend some time over the next few minutes really working through and talking to you about what it means to design digital discipleship ministry for churches. One of the critical things that I want to talk to you about as we do this is the fact that university has gone through a process. It's our process. So we're just going to share with you what we found, how it worked out, where we are now, and hopefully this will be helpful for you. You got to understand that we are going to do a very high level talk today because we're compressing in what is a 13-hour course that I will be giving out to the Alabama-Florida conference over the next few months. But I wanted to give everybody a really good idea of designing digital ministry for discipleship. All right. Overview, what we will discuss. We'll discuss who university is so you can understand who the context of it is. Our core value in our decision-making process. I believe that we spend so much time dealing with just the technical aspects of digital discipleship that we don't go to the foundational pieces that are actually required to make the right decisions there. The challenges, the launching of our digital campus, which is an outwork of our digital discipleship, early successes and challenges, and where we're going next. Before we go any further, I just wanted today a quick prayer because I don't think it's fair to do anything in church without giving a prayer. Amen. Let us pray. Father God, we are just so grateful that you continue to give us a new opportunity every day as we talk about discipleship and digital discipleship in particular. We ask that you will inform our speech. You will give us clarity. You will impact and give hope to someone. You will speak to them specifically about how they can do ministry in a new paradigm, in a new and interesting way. In your holy name, amen. Amen. So let's get started. All right. So who is the University AME Zion Church? I think sometimes we have people talking and we don't know their backgrounds. I want to give you a little bit of a background of our context so you understand some of the challenges we faced, and hopefully they will transition across. We're located in Palo Alto, California. For those of you that are looking for a more general description, we're in Silicon Valley, the San Francisco Bay Area. We are not a new church start. We were founded in 1918. The church is a multicultural congregation with dynamic young leadership. One of the critical thing for us is our digital campus participation is about 196 individuals. And also we have significant community demographics. I just want to really be clear on this. We live in a very transient community. The average person that we have experienced at a church lives in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley for 4 years because they've worked with a tech company, they've come for their graduate degree, XYZ, and they end up leaving the area very quickly. We only have a 1.5% population that's Black. So, we have very interesting challenges about how to not change the Black church experience, but translate the Black church experience so it makes sense to those that don't come from or that don't look like us and don't have the same background experiences. We also live in an area that is considered only 4 or 5% of people attend church on Sunday. 6% of people attend church on Sunday. We live truly in a postmodern Christian area. So the faith is not a big deal. Over the last 8 years, we've really struggled to figure out ways to be effective in this. And COVID has pushed us to become more and more effective in this space. So the thing that really drives us and the thing that really gives us all that we do is our base principles. University's core DNA. We reach our community, we care for our people, and we grow in Christ. It might sound simple, it might sound trite, it might sound very basic, but every decision we make in our ministry is driven by that. Let me be clear. University does not switch its theme every year. University does not come up with a new slogan. University hasn't changed its mission. It's been the same thing for the last 7 years. Reach, care, grow. We preach a refresher sermon series on it every 24 months so that people know what our values are. And it becomes very critical that you, particularly as a church, as a faith leader, as a Christian education leader, you know what the core values of your church are, because you need to be able in this digital space to judge your digital strategy, your digital discipleship, your digital thought process against what is the character and DNA of your church. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. One of my mentors, Steve Clifford, said to me that if you don't have this basic piece in place, you will always jump from one thing to another thing to another thing and not be grounded. I would encourage pastors before they do digital discipleship, before they do anything else, to have some firm and bedrock pieces that they know is the guiding factor to their church, to their ministry, and to how they make ministry decisions. I'm Presiding Elder Joyce Smith, Presiding Elder Malone Smith. One of the things I know is, like, anytime anybody approaches me with an initiative or something they want us to do as a church, I will go look at them and I will go, how does it match reach, care, or grow? How does it fit into what we're doing? How does it make sense for how we want to reach our community? How does it make sense for how we care for people? How does it make sense for how we grow in Christ? And I'm telling you why this is so critical. Technology changes, the tools change. There are people that are on the social media channels, that are on the internet, that are church consultants, that have the latest and greatest thing. And you have to have a standard which you are judging things by. Because we can start a lot of different projects. We could start going in a lot of different directions. But if we don't have our base and foundational formula together of what is the core principles of our local church, then we will forever be chasing our tails. One of the things that this allows you to do is it allows you to say no easily. It allows you to say that's worked over there, but it's not going to work over here. It doesn't match the vision that God's given me. And some people might think I'm belaboring this point, but I need to be absolutely clear. We live in a time where there are a multitude of options. We live in a time where everybody's an expert. We live in a time where there is 15 solutions to any one question. And in order for you to design, develop, and build a digital discipleship program for your church, you need to know what your foundational core DNA pieces are. You see, this is the thing. I'm going to tell you about the digital campus solution for university, and I'm going to tell you how we got there. I am not saying that the digital campus solution is the correct solution for everybody, but I want to give you a process and a process and a way of thinking that will allow you to come up with what makes sense for your area, your context, your resources, your ideas, and that it makes sense for you. But nothing will make sense if you do not have this foundational piece in place. Reverend Eldridge Morrison said it in the last session close to his closing, where he was talking about, I think it was 3 E's or 4 E's that he spoke about, where he said, these are the things and these are the ways we're judging everything at Shaw. And I think it's so critical that if you can name the things that you judge everything against, it will help you navigate this new digital space in a better way. As I'm going through this, if you have any questions, I want to encourage you to put them in there. Okay, so let me tell you how we got here and how we and we were. Fall of 2020, we had closed the church in March, Unfortunately for us, because of several factors, we already had been 2 to 3 years into live streaming. We had a social media consultant that we pay every month, and our social media channels were very healthy and full. And we had over 1,200 people that followed our church Facebook page. We had actually been doing Zoom Bible study. We have a congregation that travels a lot, and we live in a major metro where a half an hour drive can be a 30-minute drive during rush hour. A half an hour drive can be an hour and a half drive in rush hour. So we had already started doing Zoom Bible studies a year and a half, 2 years before. We had already received 70 to 80% of our giving online. We already had partnered with a third-party company, and we had a private community intraweb thing, and we had our own little app that you can go on. So we had all of this. So when COVID hit, we almost felt like we were perfectly placed. We had done everything that all the experts had said that we needed to do. We were ready. We were refining what we were doing. And then it hit us like a brick wall. We had a lot of tools. We had a lot of programs. We had a lot of things, but we were not engaging and connecting with people in a significant way with the tools we had. I know you're looking at me, and a lot of people are saying, wow, you've named all the major things that we do now for our digital stuff, and you're saying that you got to a point where you felt it wasn't working. So let me give you a couple of the background where the disconnects. Our church was using new technology to replace old paradigms. Our church was using new technology to replace old paradigms. It's interesting that we do Zoom Bible studies and we do other things at the time that we always did it before we went to pandemic. So all we were trying to do was take an old paradigm, and if some of us be honest, our Bible studies weren't even that full before the pandemic hit. So we were taking all of these old programs, old things, old ways of doing things, and just trying to foist them online. Our worship services, we were using the same order of worship. We were trying to do all of the same things, and we were trying to force them onto people just using the same thing. But this was the challenge. The significant challenge becomes that shelter in place and the pandemic had created constant pressures, and we're addressing them with a situational model. The more I started talking to people, and before the pandemic, people would talk about acute things. I'm having a stress here. I'm having a stress with work. I'm having stress with the relationship. I'm having stress with the job. But as the pandemic started developing and evolving, as I was talking to people, they started really talking and speaking about how the pressures of life were constant. They were talking about how shelter in place, was hold on, let me do one thing. How shelter in place had drained the life of them, how they felt that they were under constant pressure, how they felt like their life was this big one thing, how depression, how loneliness, how family systems, how structures, how all of these other things had pushed them to feel like they were lost. Hold on, I'm getting something here. If you can't see me, please put it in the tab. I'm trying to address it from this end. If you can't see me or you can't see the presentation, please let me know. All right. So shelter in place had created a different kind of pressure in people's life. And thank you so much, Anna. And we were using we were addressing it in the way that we were addressing the old pressures in their life. In our test group for people and in our questioning, I had a mother say to me, she goes, I want to go to Bible study, or I want to be involved in the church activity, but you guys do it at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday, and that's when I put my baby to sleep. She's like, with shelter in place, I'm chasing this child around, so I don't have the predictability of meeting you at a certain time to do a certain thing. People were like, I'm working from home all the time, so my work hours are now stretching into my personal hours. They're saying, there is loneliness, and there was a sense of loneliness, and how does God fit in, and how do I ask questions? Because people would be up in the middle of the night and they would have aggravation to be like, where's a space that I can go and check in? And this is the thing. As a church, I was hearing it as a pastor, and I was realizing, although we were doing a lot of good things, they weren't meeting people where they were. They weren't meeting the need, and we had this very acute need that people need to be met. And the other thing that I realized is we weren't creating community. We weren't creating engagement, and we weren't creating a space for growth, community and growth. And let me explain this. And I'll talk about it a little bit later. A lot of technology, like the one we're using currently, is designed for presenters to present to people. One of my friends said it best. He said they did church on Zoom and live stream, and very early on he said, the thing I missed most about church was that there was nobody to meet in the fellowship hall after church. I could not, even if I saw somebody's face in the Zoom, or if I saw somebody's name in the chat, there was no way, like on Sunday morning, for me to walk over and say hi and have a conversation. What also I realized, where a lot of people were watching, we were looking at our numbers, we were looking at our social media data, we were looking at all our other engagement groups. And as time went on, we started seeing dwindling numbers on our small groups. We started seeing less comments on our social media posts. We realized that people weren't engaging as much. And as I started talking to people, and those that shared and those that didn't share, they were like, there's so much online right now, I can't engage with everything. Remember, Zoom fatigue was a big thing in the middle of the pandemic. People were talking about they were overstimulated, they were stuck on the screen, they were brought in, and people were just overwhelmed. So as a church and as a community, we weren't able to create a space for people to do engagement and to do community. As a pastor that had a congregation that had invested a lot of resources and time and a lot of volunteers in it, I was at a very sad place in the fall of 2020. And I want to be clear, if we didn't have the base principles of reach, care, and grow, I would have missed all of this. Because when I started asking myself questions and reviewing what we were doing, I was like, who are we reaching? How are we caring for them, and how are they growing? And when I put our DNA against what we were doing, there was a lot of good that was happening, but I realized there wasn't a deeper connection. I want to introduce you to the concept and the framework. As you do discipleship in a digital space, the real key metric is not amount of views, it's not the amount of participants, it's the depth of engagement. And it's not the engagement on one post, it's the consistent engagement over time. And how do we get them there? So that's where we were. Does anybody have any questions on this? Please feel free to put it in the chat if you have any questions. So I sat down with our leadership team. I pulled together a group of people in our church. I pulled everything from technologists to people that didn't use technology. I pulled everything from parents to young adults. I pulled seniors to non-seniors. And we came out with some critical commitments to what our digital discipleship needed to look like. This is what our digital discipleship needed to look like. It needs to be biblically focused, not brand focused. It is, I will say this, there are channels in the social media space, in the digital space, that branding is absolutely critical. The problem with branding, marketing, and advertising is that it can be a distraction from discipleship. So when you start talking about your digital discipleship spaces, you want to say, can I do my branding and marketing in other spaces and not do it in the space I'm doing discipleship? Can I make announcements and tell people to do stuff? But my inspirational post, all of that stuff, that doesn't happen in my discipleship space. And I'll show you, and I actually have the discipleship space. I'll show you what that looks like, but that's such a critical thing. Or brand does not dominate our discipleship space. Number two, whatever the solution, it would outlast the pandemic. It was not a stopgap. We realized a few things. Whatever happened after COVID, after the pandemic, the world we live in would be totally different. So whatever we are doing, it needs to be permanent. God gave it to me in this way. He said, you spent the first 6 months of this time building bridges when I'm asking you to build a house. So, sorry, let me say it again. You are just trying to do some temporary stuff just to get over it so you can get back to what you used to do. But I need you to camp out here and build this because this is the land I have for you. So when we sat down, and I sat down with my steward board and the trustee board, and I sat down with my tech team, and I sat down with our people, we really said, if we're going to do this effort, we are going to have to make sure that it's something beyond the end of the pandemic. So we made the decision to go into a working group. The working group worked for about 9 months to come up with our digital campus. And the critical thing that we decided from day one was the digital campus was going to be a significant part of our ministry after the pandemic. It was the future where we were going. We decided that we would correctly resource the effort. Okay. Let me be clear. Pastors, you can't do this by yourself. I also will say this. Your tech team or your marketing team is probably not the right people to lead this effort. They have to be part of the effort, but they don't have to lead this effort because this is more of a heart and people effort than it is a technical effort. So we decided for our digital campus, we were going to have specific positions. We were going to have specific positions. We were going to staff those positions. We were going to pay the money, the funding, the marketing, the advertising. It is actually a budget line item. It gets everything. Just because we are using free platforms does not mean that everything is free. There are things that we use from, there are things on the back end that we use, that we pay for. we pay for graphics, we pay for different things, but we make sure that it is budgeted. The days that we need to, that we start treating digital ministry like, oh, let's go on free and there isn't a plan and we'll just wing it. No, it costs money, time, and effort. And we have to resource it the same way we resource our WHOM, the same way we resource our kid or our Sunday school, our kids ministry, our worship service. The same way we resource those is the same way we need to resource our digital ministries. The next thing is we would make it a priority for the entire church and not just silo it. You know, I learned this the hard way. Reverend Curtis Williams, I learned this the hard way. When I first got to university, I did things like I said, let us go ahead and do this initiative. And I would get me and a couple of technical people, and we would launch it, and we did our website on our Facebook page and different things. And what I realized was it was my priority, but it wasn't a priority for the people in the building. It was another thing that they anticipated to pass. So now what we had to do was my class leaders, the majority of them are seniors, and I sat with them and had conversations about what the digital campus is, what they want to see, what their fears were. I sat with my stewards and trustees. I sat with my young adults. I sat with our tech team. I sat with our marketing team. This was a 9-month process, but there was a lot of conversation, a lot of talking, a lot of things that we were doing just because I understood that I can launch this digital campus. It could look great to everybody in the world, but if the people in the building had not brought in, it would not make sense. I'm telling you, it is the harder lift. It is the harder road. Sometimes the hardest part of actually executing the digital discipleship is the planning and the run up. I said it was 9 months before we launched, and it was 9 months of conversations. And telling you this, the most powerful tool in the church is the phone. So I would get on the phone and have conversations with people and hear their fears, hear their thoughts. Is this replacing this? What is this replacing? I really enjoy this thing. I really enjoy that thing we're doing, you know, because we had all these other things in place and we had to figure out what we were going to keep. So but having these conversations, it had to become a priority. So before we launched the digital campus, we had hours of conversations with people. So people were actually interested in what we were doing, and they understood that it was something permanent. And we also positioned it as the future of the church. You know, one of the things that I find very interesting, and this is in hindsight, Sister Irene Boykin, this is hindsight. One of my members, she came to church 51 Sundays. She was an usher before COVID, 51 Sundays. She would take 2 weeks a year. She would go on vacation. So that one Sunday in between when she went in 2 weeks would be her Sunday off. She came back after COVID. And she said, Pastor, you'll see me about once or twice a month. I got used to being at home. I sort of like seeing my grandkids. I like waking up and watching it on the screen. I don't think I need to drive as far. What I realized was that we wanted to create a space that was the future for people. And it blew my mind. Then the space we were creating that was the future for people were impacting 75 and 80-year-olds, not just 25 and 30-year-olds. And you got to understand that if our church doesn't offer it, our church doesn't build spaces for community and stuff, they'll find it other places. The demographics on social media is stunning in the fact that, like, Facebook, which is the most popular platform, hate, love, hate it, like it. The gender is 55, the gender is female, and it's 55 to 75 is the sweet spot of people that are using it. If you look at our churches and you look at the people that are attending, it's women 55 to 75. So you need to make sure they will find somebody else on that Facebook that will give them what you're not doing. So you need to make sure you're creating that digital space, and it is the future. All right. All right. So the next thing we did, we started an analysis of the technology options to do discipleship and build community. A lot of this comes from Nona Jones's book, Social Media to Social Ministry. But let me give you this. We used engagement as the significant paradigm for how we wanted to make sure people interacted. So Zoom, great software. All of these are great software, Zoom, great software, but it's designed to be a meeting software in a business or school environment. It was actually created at Stanford, which is right down the road from us. And they designed it so that it could be a place for people to meet. Now, it's interesting, if you ever on a Zoom meeting, you notice a person that is speaking will have a green box around it because it's designed for business meetings and they want to highlight the one speaker. The other thing about Zoom is that when multiple people start talking, it starts falling apart because it's designed just to speak for one person. So you don't really get group conversation. Great teaching tool, great meeting tool, but not a great community tool. You can make it sort of work. The other thing about it is that it is a static thing. It is just something that happens at a specific time, at a specific place. And we are starting to see the upheaval of people's life patterns. So before COVID, we could say that people would want to be at home for 7 o'clock to do Bible study, but with the Great Resignation, and the fact that people work from home, does 7 o'clock make the most sense on a Tuesday? With the changes in childcare, so Zoom is stuck in a very static place and a very static time, which is good for a meeting. But when you start talking about community, it's there. The other thing is when it's done, it's done. You can't go back into a Zoom room and meet them. It's done. So there's that challenge. YouTube, a great presentation format, great videos. You can put your sermons, you can put your service, you can put your teachings, you can do a lot of interesting things. It's a great way to reach the people. But it is a simple monologue, very much like this platform is. All I can do is speak to you. I can't interact with you in the way, in a typical way. So the real issue is that it's great for teaching and information and entertainment, but it's not strong in community. It can be used to help build community, but it's not strong in community. The other thing is Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages. We are blessed in that we have a great marketing company we work with every month. Our Facebook and Instagram is just really well done. But let me give you an example of this. We use our Instagram and our Facebook page to give sermon highlights, to do events, to be inspirational. But if you notice something here, it's not a way for two-way dialogue. It's for you to respond to us, and we will respond to you. But it's not a place for engagement. So with that, so those social media channels and those social media spaces, they're great for that. And they're also great for building brand, building awareness, building a lot of other things. But hold on one second. But they don't build community. But also the other thing, and this final, they don't create a safe space for people to share and have community. When people put a comment on a post, they're open to anybody on the internet responding to it. They're open to anybody on the internet responding, trolls, bullies, people they don't want to see their business. So it's hard to create that safe space, particularly in those social media. And then the last piece is we had spent 2018 and 2019 working with a company, great company, won't say their name. They gave us a private app, private website, private everything. And it was a bust for a few reasons. And it became even a bigger bust when COVID started. The first thing is people did not want to learn another thing. There's something about familiarity and already spending time in spaces that make platforms easier to use. The other thing is that they don't want to learn anything. Jacqueline, I'm about to actually get to that. That's my next slide. Thank you for asking. So these private apps just have some great features, some great functionalities, some great things, but we said we wanted to be on the town square. It is like it's like placing our church 100 miles from people when we put them in those private apps or in these private sites. They just weren't going there. And as a pastor, you can send so many emails, you can send so many text messages, you could try to make ministries do it. Actually, we've been through 2 vendors to try it. And we're in Silicon Valley. We have engineers, people that work at tech companies, people that make the software that we use. And they just looked at me and they said, Pastor, I don't want to find and learn another thing, another piece. So we wanted to be in a place that was the town square. Other thing is that everything we need to do needs to meet one of our significant principles, which is reach. So when we set up what we do, we want to make sure that it's private, but it's also in the town square. It's accessible, but it's private, but it's also accessible to people to explore and be part of. So let's go to the next slide. So all requirements. I love this verse in Hebrews. It says, and let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Hebrews 10:24-25. The space must have tools to foster community and allow people to participate at a level to feel comfortable. They need it to be easy to adopt and use. People don't have the bandwidth to learn something new. Must work with people's lives and be 24/7, and must be a safe space for people to share without trolls and other online bullies, a moderated space. So we ended up with the University Digital Campus. It is a Facebook group. So it's on a platform with the most people. We keep all the content that we post there, we keep it in a log. So if they ever if it ever changes or shut us down, or we need to go someplace new, we have our content. It's a private group with strong moderation features. We have a questionnaire that if you ask to join our group, if you don't fill in the questionnaire, you're not going to get in the group. The questionnaire allows you to be self-selecting. So it's a great space. Features for online engagement. It gives us polls, it gives us prayers, it gave us a lot of things. It gives us rooms. There's a lot of things that we learned. We were able to integrate our existing efforts into the platform. So now we had a central place for all of our discipleship efforts. Okay, so we were doing Bible study on Zoom, and we had a core group of people that they were like, Pastor, great for the digital campus, but we don't want to give up the Zoom for the Bible study. We had another group that we were doing a prayer and devotional call on Wednesday morning, and they were like, Pastor, we don't want to give that up to be part of the digital campus. And then we had some other things that we were doing along the way, and they're like, we don't want to give up any of this, but we also want it in a central place. So what we did was this. For example, we took our Zoom Bible study, and we used the live stream feature from Zoom, and we stream it every Tuesday night into our digital campus. Now, here's an interesting thing. is that we now have people that are parents or people that travel or people that work can now access the Bible study any time of the week, and it now has a place to live and for people to participate. It's simply amazing because we will now see comments on our Bibles. The Bible study will be Tuesday night, but people will put comments for our campus pastor on a Wednesday or Thursday asking a question about a Tuesday night Bible study. We're meeting them right where they are. The other thing is we had our higher calling devotional call. It's always based on a book. One of my associates would do a reading and would do a devotional, and she did a phenomenal job. It was like 10, 15 minutes on a Wednesday morning. People absolutely loved it. It was a great midweek recharge. And what we did with that was the teleconference software we use, we took the recording of the teleconference software and uploaded it so people on Wednesday afternoon could listen to the devotional that happened Wednesday morning. Light years. People now can engage. Sometimes you have these great devotional calls, you hear these great things, and they're lost forever. Now we have a total library of all these devotional calls, and they're there to encourage people. The other thing that we did that was really interesting, was we were able to bring the service and our live stream there. So a lot of our members actually watch from the digital campus. And I'll talk about ways that we use the Sunday service live stream and the rebroadcast on Wednesday to increase and encourage engagement. All right. So let's talk about the critical elements of how we develop. Digital campus has its own team. They're located on our Facebook group. So let me give you the critical elements, and then I will go through this. Okay. Our digital campus has its own team. We have a digital campus pastor. Reverend Tahina Vermarash is our digital campus pastor. I pastor a church. It would be hard for me to do both jobs. We treat it as if it was its own thing. It has its own team, its own crew. It does everything. She runs that ministry for us. She gives a lot of the spiritual direction, answers the questions. She does a great job there. We have a digital campus director. She takes care of letting people in. She helps with the posting. She does all of that other stuff. We have moderators that watch a channel and respond to stuff. We do minimal marketing. We don't, you saw our Instagram page. We have flyers for New Year's, flyers for this and that. I think we probably have one, maybe two flyers a month on our digital campus because we want to make this a space that's more about engagement. Focusing on engagement, not likes, making it fun and lighthearted. One of the things I think that we get confused in church is that everything a church puts out needs to be serious, needs to be heavy. We were struggling with engagement very early on, and then we started just posting stuff like asking people, what's your favorite dessert? What's your favorite fried chicken brand? Which fried chicken sandwich did you like? Did you like Popeyes or did you like Chick-fil-A? I think Chick-fil-A is probably better than Popeyes. But we started asking those questions, and that kind of stuff started engaging stuff. And what we realized in our meetings was that people were there, but sometimes we were asking these deep questions that required these deep responses, and they didn't want their first response to be this deep thing. They wanted it to be this lighthearted thing. And we figured out ways to do engagement, self-care, different things that will allow people to engage in it. Okay. The other part of it is there is intentional management. We have a content calendar. Reverend Tahina and Sister Lori, they have a schedule. Sunday is a service. Monday is Monday Musing. Monday Musing is me and Reverend Tahina. We review the sermon online, and people can ask questions about the sermon. So many times pastors preach sermons but never give people opportunity to ask. So we use that on the digital campus. Tuesday, we have Bible study. Wednesday, we have Wondering Wednesdays. Thursday, we do some questions and some throwbacks and some community and some engagement stuff. Friday, we have a prayer online thing. Saturday, we have Solitude Saturday, and we're back to Sunday. And then there's all the other stuff that we do on top of that. But we are doing that. The other thing is that we iterate on our campus. We probably we ask significant questions about the health and the effectiveness of our digital campus on a almost monthly basis. And we've had some real wins and we've had some real losses. This is the one thing I would say about the digital space. The things that you think are going to hit, sometimes they fall flat, and the things that you think are just fillers will end up being like the biggest hits. But I talked a lot about it. Let me show it to you. Anna Benjamin Cooper, you can go to our website and there is a whole tab for our digital campus, and it clicks and it goes to it. And now I'll show you the digital campus so you can get a good idea of what it is. All right. So this is our digital campus. And I want to run you through a few things really quickly. We're at 197 members, so we're hopefully we'll get to 200. The interesting thing is that these are from all over the country, and we have people that consider us their church home. Some of the interesting things. So, for example, I love this. We're doing our digital campus scavenger hunt. So, what we've done is ask people to get familiar with the campus. So we've done the scavenger hunt. Remember, I said everything doesn't have to be serious, but what we wanted to do here was create something that was digital based, but allowed people in the real world to actually have a benefit. So they do the scavenger hunt on here, and then they actually go to a Google Doc, do it here, and we will send them a gift card. We'll send them a gift card if they are the ones that win. We give people opportunities to serve. I think one of the critical things that we realize is because it's digital, there's still the need to do ministry here. So we give people the opportunity to serve digitally. And there's a couple of different digital positions: digital moderator, for our Sunday services. You can do office work digitally. You can be part of our communications team digitally. You can be part of the digital campus. But we wanted to create a space that when people come to the digital campus, they can actually serve. This is what I'm talking about content that does not need to always be holy, but needs to be something for people. We do things like the self-care bingo, and you see people respond. We do things like complete the sentences about Christmas. The other thing is we found service and community outreach projects that can be done online and in person. So we have this thing called Operation Contagious Generosity, which we feed those that have been adversely affected by the pandemic, lost jobs, lost homes, need stuff like food and clothing. And the great thing about it is if you're on the digital campus and you do not live locally or you're scared to leave your house, you can click the wish list. You can click the wish list and you can now order it and send it directly to the church. And when you send it to the church, you have now participated in helping out. So much going on here. Hold on, let me go. This is one of my favorites. So we do this. Let's argue which one's the best. We do the cookies and say, which one do you prefer, that kind of stuff. So, and this is like our Monday musings. This is me and Reverend Tahina. We're doing this whole conversation, talking about the service, and we're doing the review on Monday. So as you can see, the digital campus has a lot of interesting and intriguing pieces, reviewing what we've done. But if you notice what it doesn't have a ton of flyers. It doesn't have a ton of marketing. It has just stuff that is engaging people to participate and be part of our community. Amen. All right. So what happens on the digital campus? I'm going over this, but engagement, questions to spark fun and interactions, questions to spark thought and discussion, discipleship opportunities. We do the Sunday service, which has somebody that moderates and answers people's questions. Bible study, Monday musing, Friday prayer, higher calling devotional. All of the commonality is that people can participate in any of these at any time, and they fall in line with what we're doing. Opportunity to be part of the community no matter where you are. Operation Contagious Generosity, help one child. And community posting, people can post and be part of the community. So we really love that. So what next steps? And in the upcoming year, we're going to do digital membership. We're still trying, I know people like buzzwords, but we as a church want to make sure that we have the capacity to care for people, grow people, provide them community, and make sure that they're part of a bigger whole. It's not just a number on the book. So we're fleshing out a few more pieces to make the digital membership, which goes beyond the digital campus. See, digital campus is the front door, so we're looking for ways to do that. The other thing is we're going to do digital courses. It's a great way for people to be part of the digital campus. Actually, I'll do a quick example of a digital course in a second. And we're going to do more personalized and authentic content. So we're in a good space. Let me show you this really quickly. So one of the things that we did very early on, and we'll go back to doing this, is we have the digital. They have a feature called Guides, which allows you to put together teaching programs. So we created this teaching program about the digital campus, the vision, the what, the why, the community heart, discipleship, engagement, outreach. And we are in the process of putting our new member tech training and our choir training online, just because we want to be able to offer people that kind of training. There is some production in it, but I think there is a lot of opportunity to use these kind of guides to really be ways to continue to grow and help people. It can also be written. So there are things like volunteering at UMAZ and outreach. So very interesting stuff. All right. Let's see. All right. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? Please put them. Oh, we have some Q&A. Here we go. Okay. Anna, I believe that private Facebook groups are a must. I think I'm going to bring it up for people to see. Where it is so critical for you to have some level of filtering. So we ask people questions. Give us your email address if you'd like to receive updates about University of Zion Church. The reason we put this question is so that people are forced to put a personal connection point. You'll be surprised how many people will stop right there. Will you uphold the rules and privacy of the group? And please go there. And then this is very simple, whereas the group rules. And then we have a set of group rules that they can connect through comments, be kind of courteous, no hate speech or bullying, no promotion or spam, respect the privacy of other group members, do not share screenshots outside of this group. So we've created this framework that creates privacy. And I'm so grateful that we have not had any issues with this. We have so far had not asked anybody to leave. So. All right. Any other questions? Yes, it is. We're trying to create an electronic safe space, and we're doing our best. So we're grateful to God that it's been a really good and safe experience for people. All right. All right. All right. Are there any other questions? Great question. Wait, hold on. Okay. First, I'll take President Elder Smith's question. So, and the pastor of this church. Okay, so, well, President Elder Smith from Alabama. I got to introduce you to Presiding Elder Smith from Oregon, Washington. I think her church, Community Church, runs a really amazing group. And the one thing, it doesn't have the same like production stuff like we've got a lot of technical people, but the beauty of what she does with it is like it's so authentic. It's like if you know her, the group is her, and she'll like post Bible verses and inspirational stuff, and the people will respond, and it wasn't overproduced. That's the critical thing, you know. We pay a production company to do all. We pay a production company to do all of our main Instagram, YouTube, Facebook page marketing and graphics, but our actual Facebook group, our digital campus, we make all of that or find it on the web because we wanted to make it authentic. It's not about marketing. So for a smaller church, I would say Facebook has great features where you type it in and put a great color background. It would be amazing. Okay. No, the digital campus was not designed by a third party. It was designed all internally using Facebook groups. Reverend Teen Newsom, how do you identify who to use for each purpose? That is a hard one. So I'll talk a little bit about our process. So before we came up with purposes, we did some reading. Nona Jones, great book, social media, social ministry. I got a book group, and I got some of my best thinkers and volunteers together and read the book and see who would give me thoughts on it. So we started reading that book in August or September. And it was interesting, out of that group, only 1 or 2 people actually ended up being part of our final team. But what that group was able to do was start thinking about people in the building that they thought would be good for it. People in the building that they thought would be a nice fit for it. People in the building that they thought would work well for it. And that's how we found the people. But I think doing the process of like the preparation and talking to your church, people start coming up. And like I said, let me be clear on this. The role of digital discipleship is not a technical role. It is a heart-based role. It is a role where you're looking for people with the right heart, with the right diligence, with the willingness to respond. Linda McGuire, it is not open to people that are not on Facebook. That is a significant limitation. I will say this. We had a group that was a private app-based thing because we were concerned about that. And we had less participation on the private app base that was run by us, that was its own thing, than we do on the Facebook group. Any initiative is not going to get 100% internal buy-in. So we did our calculation on how do you get the most bang for buck. And then we also have a multi-tier communication plan from letters, text, email, so that people don't feel left out, but that's a whole different conversation. Unfortunately, it is only open to people on Facebook. So. Okay. Any other questions? I think I went 3 minutes over my time, but thank you so much, everybody, for your time today. It's been a real blessing. I'm praying for each of your churches and each of your context. Like I said, I just wanted to give you university's process. Oh, let me give you how you can reach me. My email is pastor@university. I am putting it in the chat right now at universityamez.com. If you hold on, I will give you a link to my presentation so you can have it. That's how you contact me. And here is a link to our presentation so that you can keep it and have it. And if you have any questions, here is. President Elder Malone Smith, you are wrong. You are wrong on the sandwich, but we'll let you be. There goes my number. Thank you all so much for spending time. And I know it's, thank you so much for being part of Truthville. Thank you so much for being part of this class. Everybody have a safe day. Bye.